All of us here at Medic Materials are deeply saddened to report that this show's dear friend, New York State Critical Care Technician Adam Kelly, 353092, has received his final call on this earth, July 4th, 2021. Critical Care Tech Kelly faithfully and passionately served the residents of Delaware and Broome counties for nearly 15 years. The residents he served and the providers that surrounded him are eternally grateful to him and his family for the sacrifices they made during his term of public service. The doors of his ambulance may have been shut on his life on this earth, but he has now become a guardian to watch over those providers he leaves behind to carry on his legacy. Rest in paradise, our brother. We have the watch from here.
You're listening to the Medic Materials Podcast, hosted by Mike Turek, Emily Yates, Kelsey Coons, and Gerard Cuomo. All are current EMS providers and educators with a combined 30 years experience. Each month we discuss EMS news, medical science, and review actual EMS calls, bringing many educational opportunities to the listener. Portions of the calls have been altered to protect the privacy and identity of all involved.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Medic Materials Podcast. My name is Mike Turek, and we are here with Emily and... no.
Ding.
Kelly's gone.
Come on.
I was going to say her first, and then I was like, no, I can't forget Emily this time.
Is that how we got Kelly the first time?
Did you not hear how I got Kelly last time?
I heard.
Yeah. So, again,
You
I
just
was
came
looking...
right out with it, though. Like, Kelly was your best friend. I was like, who's Kelly?
Even I was like, who the fuck was Kelly? Well, this episode is off to a shining start. So we are actually here with paramedic intern Kelsey, Gerard as always, and we're back with Emily because I fired Kelly.
Thought Kelly did a great job.
So did everybody, but you know, I felt like she just didn't give enough, so her heart wasn't there. All right. So today we're going to do a really interesting call review that comes from literally the EMS crew from the Ninth Circuit of Hell. Like this call is very interesting. We're going to get to that right after Kelsey's rig check, and we're doing one more of the call reviews because all of next month we're going to have discussions. So I think this will round off like a good 5 in a row that we've done that are call reviews, so we can get into some really good discussions in the month of August. So Kelsey, your rig check.
So guys, we have officially reached over 640 subscribers on YouTube, and we have over 650 friends in our Facebook group. So make sure you check back every Friday at 2:15 for new educational EMS videos. Also, we're asking that you go check out our Teespring page to purchase some Medic Materials merch, and you can also support us by rating and reviewing our podcast on whatever streaming platform you listen from. We also are going to have a very special announcement in our next episode, August 1st rig check, so get excited and check back on August 1st. And today we would like to shout out our listeners in India and Michigan. Woo!
Gerard, you're being so...
I know, this
so
is
quiet.
very odd.
It's so weird.
Cool.
You're allowed to talk
I'm
now,
trying to
you
behave
realize.
myself.
You don't have to behave yourself yet.
It's when
It's when I start talking about the call.
but only until they get on scene.
Okay.
Right. So let's get that out of the way.
Okay.
And this way we can turn to you and be like, what's Gerard thinking? So like I said, this call is straight out of the Ninth Circuit of Hell. The system is a dense inner city EMS district with ALS transporting ambulances staffed with 1 EMT basic and 1 paramedic. Because it's, dense inner city, there are multiple area hospitals within a very close range of this scene, the closest being 7 minutes away. The dispatch comes out as a Charlie priority or priority 3 to a local multiple housing unit for a 30-year-old male mental health evaluation. City PD were also dispatched to the scene. EMS is told to stage until the scene is safe. Now, that's kind of like a fairly standard procedure in our area. I would assume that it's fairly standard in a lot of areas. However, I've also worked city EMS where city PD's too busy. And yeah, it's great that they go and secure the scene, but they don't actually ever get there. They're doing other stuff. So they actually do make it. The EMS crew arrives nearby, stages approximately a quarter mile away from the scene. The city police arrive shortly after EMS proceed into the scene. There are 3 officers that arrive, and minutes later, dispatch is told EMS proceed into the scene as it's now secure. So EMS gets out of their truck, and they're approached by one of the PD officers. They're told that this is a regular subject that police deals with often at this location. The last time they were intoxicated and had to be wrestled by multiple police officers to the ground. Typically, this individual does not like police presence and becomes fairly aggressive when police get close to him. However, right now, he's seated in the lobby of the building, fairly emotional. So I want to open up to you guys. Does anything that this cop is saying to you guys concern you at this point in time?
Volatility of the patient.
Okay. I think is like, I think that's like the major red flag at this point in time. You know, how are they going to act? You know, if I look like a cop, if I act like a cop, if there's cops near me, you know, is that scene that's safe now going to be safe in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Right. So EMS enters the facility and they bring no equipment. They don't bring bags. They don't bring monitors. They don't bring anything. And they see the male seated in a lobby chair against the wall, leaning over with his face buried in his hands. He appears to be crying and in considerable emotional distress at that point in time. And there's the other 2 officers standing approximately like 15, 20 feet away on the other side of the lobby. What are your guys' initial thoughts seeing that type of presentation? Like, he doesn't appear aggressive to me, at least, with that. Like, if you're buried in, you know, your hands are buried with your face, like,
yeah, sit down next to him, say, hey, mind if I join you?
Right. Like, it doesn't seem like,
yeah.
Oh, hey,
I feel like burying my hand in my face and crying.
Right. Like, yeah, everyone needs a good cry,
yeah,
right?
Loves company. You know?
The EMT approaches and begins to just converse with him in a very straightforward, calm voice, almost soothing. Like, they introduce the EMS crew and attempts to get any information that he can. The male lifts his head, still crying, and tells the EMT that everyone should just leave him alone and not care about him. That no one actually cares about him.
Aww.
Me and Emily over here making sad faces.
And I'm already getting the freaking RMA paperwork. Like, hey, you're right. I don't care. Here you go. Bye-bye.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
But yet so many people probably would think like that.
Me and Emily are like, poor guy.
The EMT keeps trying to get, you know, any information that he can, you know, from this guy. And he still is trying to keep this conversation very calm, very soothing, non-aggressive, like, you know, working with this patient. And he goes on and tells him, like, hey, we're here, you know, the EMS crew's there to care about him. Like, he's trying to, you know, console and build this rapport with this guy, which I think is pretty good, right? That they're there to listen. They're there to help him in any way that they possibly can. And meanwhile, while the EMT and this gentleman's having this conversation, the paramedic moves over to the police officers and attempts to just gauge any other information that he can out of them. And the paramedics told that the neighbor was the initial 911 caller, and they heard him walking through the hallway, yelling and screaming. Now, I'm assuming this is like a residential apartment building. It's kind of what it seems like to me. And when the neighbor went outside the apartment and finally saw him, he's in the hallway, he's yelling and screaming, and he's punching walls, leaving dents in walls for like no reason. And the officer also reported that the neighbor, he told the neighbor that he took a full bottle of Tylenol in an attempt to kill himself. The officer then handed the paramedic an empty bottle of Tylenol, and he said that, you know, he had said he ingested the entire thing, which is adding up all of the pills is around 9,000 or so milligrams of Tylenol. Yeah, there goes your RMA. However, physically at this time, you know, he's alert. He's oriented ×4. ABCs are completely like normal. There's no complaints of chest pain. There's no shortness of breath, no nausea, vomiting, or abdominal pain. And you kind of see some non-bleeding abrasions to both hands around the knuckles. I'm assuming that's where he was punching walls, as well as you see some superficial scratches to the left side of his neck. There's also what the EMT described as heavy scarring to both forearms, probably in previous life attempts or self-mutilation or something like that. So where are you guys, like, with this presentation, with how he's acting, with the new information from the PD officer? Like, where are your guys' thoughts? What do you guys want to do next?
I mean, I'm trying to gauge, I guess. Is this somebody I'm going to have to use sugar with, or am I going to have to use salt? You know, and it's kind of sizing up, you know, good cop, bad cop at this point. Like, we've all played the game. It's like, you know, some people you can sweet talk them, you know, they just want their hand held, and, you know, into the ambulance you go. But then there's others where you can't, and you got to freaking drop the hammer on them just to, you know, let them know who's the boss and this is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, the fact that he is alert and oriented, I mean, you know, is he a danger to himself and others right now at this moment in time? You know, could we make the argument? Probably not.
I mean, maybe, but he's shown at this time no aggression towards anyone on scene.
I don't think he's a danger to others, but he's definitely a danger to himself.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe at this point we could probably get PD to, I don't know how it is in other people's states, but we get PD to maybe say the choice of not going is no longer on the table.
But with his history of not liking police, how's that going to go?
Well, I mean, they don't necessarily have to tell him. Just the fact that, hey, you guys are going to come with us and you're going to fill out all that nice little paperwork that says, you know, he is not, you know,
he's not able to make that decision anymore.
Yeah.
I think definitely, you know, it's a thin line between that good cop, bad cop, because again, you know, EMS at that point is the good cop. He's not aggressive with them. They don't want to like flip the switch and be like, hey, you're coming. Let's go. Shut up. Move on. And then next thing you know, he's like, ooh, they're acting just like the police do.
Right. Now I'm going to treat them
the same. Now next thing you know, they're wrestling him to the ground, trying to sedate him or something, you know?
And my EMT right now seems to be building some kind of rapport with him. So, you know what? I'm not going to interject myself unless I have to. And I'll let him know what the game plan is. And, you know, you sweet talk him, whatever you got to do, but stay with him, you know?
Yeah, I think it's definitely this has the ability to escalate, but it's not now. So we need to be prepared for the escalation, but we're going to try and do everything, you know, in our power to mitigate that, you know, and avoid that. So the EMT at this time is still speaking to him. The male appears to be sobbing even more now. And he stands up with the EMT as if to walk outside. The EMT tells his medic partner they're moving outside. Somehow in that conversation, he got him to agree, hey, let's go get checked out. Let's talk to somebody, whatever he said. And the EMT looks at his medic and says, don't have PD follow us. Just stay over there, leave them be. PD stays inside, and both members of the EMS crew and the male patient walk outside, get into the truck. No issues. He's positioned on the stretcher. He's secured with 3 seat belts. Awesome. Cool. And the EMS crew chooses not to use the shoulder belts that they have on their stretchers. So they have the generic, 3 chest, waist, feet, but they also have the 4-point harness to go over each shoulder. They choose not to use that. And eventually they keep talking to him and they get permission to do an initial set of vital signs. The guy goes, "Yep, cool. I don't really care." So they hook him up to the pulse ox probe. The heart rate via the pulse ox is 97. They feel it really quick on the wrist. It's regular. SpO2 is 96. Respiratory rate's 18 and unlabored. And the BP via the auto cuffs 132/81. So really, physically, this guy is fine. Like, if I was the medic on this scene, I'd be like, this is a BLS call all day long, right? Like, we're in agreement there. Like, I'm not missing something. No. And I know
the EMT is the one that has the good rapport with him. So
yeah,
and that's
I would be
too.
really hard. I would fight for that to go BLS if I was that EMT.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I would think that would make me want to be in the back would be the ingestion, the poison.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, they're my EMT is their best buddy now, so I'm not going to rock the boat.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
and realistically,
you're not going to do.
What are we going to do anything for the Tylenol overdose anyway?
Just monitor and that kind of stuff,
right? Yeah. You're going to throw them on the monitor. You're going to make sure that they're still alert, not lethargic. Yeah. EMT can do that.
Absolutely.
So I'm with you. They have the built rapport. Let's keep it that way. So we need to do a little reference here. Their ambulance is a big box unit, okay? And the EMT is currently positioned on the bench seat. The paramedic is standing just behind the stretcher, in between the captain's chair and the stretcher. One of the PD officers then steps through the side door and now is standing on the top of the stairs behind the stretcher. And he just casually asks the EMT and the paramedic, "Hey, do you want me to ride with you to the hospital?" Casually, no big deal.
Oh boy.
Patient overhears this, though.
Boom, there's the trigger.
Right. What part of wait outside and I'll
Did
come
you
out
not
to
understand?
you did you not understand?
It's like, if there's any
They wanna
cops
be the
listening,
heroes.
right? Like, I feel like we're gonna badmouth cops really quickly here.
Well, at least they didn't Narcan him.
That's true. Like, they didn't 52 milligrams of Narcan.
Okay, here is going to be my one saving.
Are you gonna stick up for cops?
I am. How much training do you think they have on mental health? Even less than we do.
Well,
so they don't know.
I agree with that. However, you ever look at how much escalation they cause
100%.
at scenes? It's not even like mental health calls. Like,
because
just any
drunk
calls.
But a
like
lot of
drunk
what
calls or
they're
whatever.
taught is, oh, I'm here. I'm the authoritative figure.
Right.
When we are scared or we need help, we call the cops. So they're there like, hey, are you guys okay?
Right.
They're
Which
not
I think is
thinking
great.
far enough ahead to be like, oh, this is going to trigger this patient to go ballistic.
Right.
Which I anticipate is coming.
Because it's way too easy so far,
Honestly.
Right.
Yeah,
you were like that.
The words "stop resisting" are going to come out somewhere, right?
You're like ninth layer of hell, and I'm like, man, this poor guy just needs a ride.
Right. Like, he just
somebody
needs a
talk
hand
to.
to be
How
held.
did we go from "Hey, buddy" to "Taser, taser, taser"? Wait, what the fuck just happened?
Cops.
The cops. Yeah, that's what happened.
So, as predicted, when the patient hears this, his mood completely changed from emotionally downtrodden to agitated, pissed off, and angry. He begins to yell, curse, scream. He tries getting off the stretcher, and the EMT tries to butt his way into the conversation in an attempt to de-escalate everything, being like, "We don't need them. They can just leave." The medic tells the officer, "Just get out of the ambulance. Like, we don't need you. You're making it worse. Leave." The male's still yelling. He's pressing up against the stretcher straps. He's trying to now physically get off of the stretcher. And the EMT's now using a whole lot sterner tone. He's now going into the, hey, I need to make presence known. I'm going to be a little bit of a bad cop here. And telling him straight up, chill out.
Yeah.
The cop's gone. We're not cops. Chill out. When he does this, it really doesn't much work. He's still trying to get up. So the medic intervenes and grabs him from behind, pulls him into the stretcher. I love how you guys are like,
Oh. Get out of my space.
Okay.
I would have been grabbing my drug bag from behind.
Exactly.
See?
Don't put your hands on them.
But this is, I feel like a lot of providers would do that. Like they wouldn't think, hey, I can chemically restrain this guy with a little bit of Versed or maybe some Ativan if that's what they carry, or ketamine or whatever. But they would go to, I need to physically restrain him.
But
right? Because that's what we do first. That's what our brain goes, well, we need to hold him down.
Till what? The cows come home? Like, you're going to hold them until what? Because now you're
I'm not
both
saying
on
I would
them.
do it. I'm just saying I know providers.
There's no
that's
end
their
in
first
sight.
thing.
My theory on this is like, I am not an emotionally disturbed person. I am totally with it, super calm. If you came up from behind me and put your hands on me, I would lay you out. Do not touch me. And so imagine this guy's state, and now he's just getting grabbed from behind. That's frightening.
Yep. I'm with you 100%.
I don't like it.
I definitely think this escalated the situation to where it didn't need to go.
Let the EMT keep doing their thing, whatever they're doing. You know, I'm getting the drug bag.
Yep. And be prepared for that. You know, if he needs to take a little nap, he takes a little nap.
Yeah, I've done it before. I've no bones about it. I tell the patient straight up, hey, if you continue down this path, I will sedate you.
Yep.
Sometimes it works, and they go, okay, well, maybe I don't want to be sedated. I'll just chill out. You know, other times,
They get sedated.
they get sedated.
And then he takes big nap. So
I love how we use such technical, medical terms here.
I mean, is it not a big nap?
Big nap. So I got my syringe out and made patient go big nap.
How do you think QI would like that one?
Oh,
that'd be great for
that'd be
documentation,
hilarious for Yep, gave 5 a Versed.
Patient big
3
nap.
minutes. Patient big nap. That'd be awesome. So, so while the medic has control of the guy's shoulders and everything, the EMT goes and puts on those shoulder belts that they should have put on prior. Right. Yes and no. See,
same reason for not wanting to make the person feel restrained by grabbing them around the back. Sometimes, especially with psychs, you know what? And it all depends on the situation, but less is better. Like, because I know what it's like having a harness on, and you have a restrictive feeling because it's supposed to restrict you.
Right.
So I might give him a pass on that.
Even in his state now.
Oh, now? Well.
That's
now
what I'm saying.
Right now we need to calm him down. So you probably don't put the straps on.
Okay, interesting take, girls. Are you with the straps?
I think I would have tried for the shoulder straps.
Right
if he's calm and cooperative, be like, listen, you have to wear your seatbelt in the car.
Yeah,
you have to do it here. I'm going to do it this.
When they were calm,
exactly, and just explain it's not meant to restrict you. I'll like keep your arms free, right? But this is how it goes.
Yeah,
but not now. When he's agitated and trying to get up.
I feel like that's just a good way to get hit.
Yeah, and I also think it's just a waste of time right now. Like, you're telling me he can't get out of the straps.
Right.
I think now you need chemical restraints. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the medic goes down Gerard's route, and as he's holding them, literally gives them the same ultimatum. Chill the fuck out or take a big nap. Right? You're going to get sedated.
Using those words.
Yeah. So we've kind of really covered, EMS at this point in time making some bad moves, but they're also making some good strides to take care of the situation.
More good than bad, probably.
Yeah, I think so too.
So surprisingly, the big nap sedation works. And he says, okay, I don't want to have a shot in my arm. I'm cool, man. You're not the cops. Surprisingly, calms back down. Medic tells the officer.
It works with me.
What? Yeah.
Then again, I have a little bit more of a.
I was like, you're a big, scary guy, though.
Yeah.
Demeanor.
Maybe it's my braid that doesn't work.
I don't know. I'd like to see this with Kelsey on the internship.
When she's the one giving the big nap.
Yeah, when she's
I'm
like
threatening it.
Yeah, when she's like, I'm gonna sedate you if you don't shut up and sit down. I'd love to see that. It'd be hilarious. Hi, sir. Can you please shut up and sit down? Or I'm going to
voice is not
sedate
that.
you.
You're gonna give me no choice.
Could you just calm down for me? I need you to enhance your calm.
Oh, it'd be that'd be hilarious.
The first day she drops a wicked like if you don't chill the fuck out, I'm gonna fucking sedate you.
Hey, I stopped at a wedding planner.
I want that on tape.
Yeah.
Wow. Did I just say tape?
You did.
Wow.
All right, Grandpa.
All right, let's move on.
So
Get my 8mm camcorder out here.
seriously.
Maybe we can get it on the cops' little chest cam that they wear.
The Sony, I'll have to get the Sanyo.
So the medic tells the officer who's outside of the truck to just follow the ambulance in their own car. They're not needed. Everything's cool. They're just gonna go.
Why?
I'd still have them follow.
Why?
You're 7 minutes away.
Oh, 7 minutes?
Yeah.
You're inner city. Why are the cops
Yeah.
following?
No, I'm all right.
I don't know, because they asked.
Oh, okay.
I'm still thinking where I have 40
East
minutes to go.
Bumstick?
I'm like, no. You're fine.
You can guarantee the cops are not going to follow you if you're 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
I've made them. It's funny with the Psych where the wheel fell off the ambulance and hit the police car that was following us.
I mean, that's a story.
And everyone thinks I'm joking, but no, I can't make that shit up.
Yep. So the EMT tells his medic, let's just start heading to the ER. Let's go. Medic gets in the front. Transport begins. EMT moves to the captain's chair as they believe there's a safer position for the ride, as well as they can start looking up information on their company's computer system, because right now they have a name and that's it. Like, they have no medical history, nothing.
I'm guessing he's in the system.
I'm assuming this guy is probably in the system.
Yeah.
Yes. Wild guess. You would be correct. Right. So the EMT is able to pull up medical history. So this guy has schizoaffective disorder, multiple suicide attempts, and ideation, depression, substance abuse.
Question.
And, yes.
Difference between schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder.
Oh, we'll get there. That's my educational notes for the end of the show.
Is he on his meds?
Again, we don't know.
Yeah, Tylenol.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of it.
And a whole lot of it.
See, it should have been Excedrin, because then I could have made the, he must have had a headache this big joke.
I mean, can we do the math? What's 9,000 divided by 200?
Too much.
Right. Like, I want to know how many pills that is. Like, that's a lot of fucking pills.
How many? It was like 100 in a bottle.
No, was
right?
it like extra strength? That's 500.
Oh, that's, yeah.
So it would be 45 if we were not extra strength.
But isn't a normal 250? So do 9,000 divided by 250.
I thought normal Tylenol was 200. Or that's ibuprofen.
That's
Never mind.
36.
It's 250 because you
Yeah.
take 2 normal to get extra strength, and that's
Yeah.
500.
36 Tylenols. Or
That's
if we had...
still
That's a commitment.
That
You
is
know,
a
if
commitment.
we
If we
is a
only
lot.
had extra strength, we'd only take 18.
But that's still even a commitment.
Yeah, that's still a lot.
Like, that's a lot.
That's too much of a commitment for me.
Not worth it.
Not worth it. So,
There's better ways of doing it.
meds are actually kind of interesting. He's on 3 meds: naproxen, gabapentin, and Depakote, and no allergies. Exactly.
Depakote can be a mood stabilizer, though.
It can be a mood stabilizer.
So that does make sense.
Okay.
So,
And that's
there's
usually, I mean, it's weird that there's no like antidepressant,
Yeah,
but
like,
for the
where's-
schizoaffective disorder, they put you on a mood stabilizer.
Yep.
Okay.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's why I thought this was kind of interesting, because like the naproxen and the gabapentin, they're like, one's an NSAID and one is like a nerve pain reliever,
It's like, what, he got
an
chronic pain from
epileptic
something?
kind of drug.
Yeah, but doesn't gabapentin potentiate the effects of the Depakote?
I honestly don't know. That is something that is
Okay,
beyond my scope of
Listen,
knowledge.
I'll come back at the end of the episode and see what I can find.
So we're gonna continue. Patient is now calm. He's apologizing to EMS. He's saying, "I'm sorry," over and over and over.
It's a good
right?
sign.
He's not even allowing the EMT to get a word in. He is just constantly saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." He then begins to scream, "You should have just left me there. You should have just left me there. Sorry. You should have just left me there." Over and over and over. And then he lifts his left arm and he begins to like bash himself on the left side of his head. And as the EMT moves from the captain's chair back over to the bench seat, thinking, okay, now they're going to have to either like physically restrain him from striking himself, or, you know, they're going to have to call the medic back to chemically restrain him. They see a crimson spray fly across the back of the ambulance.
Oh, fuck.
Somebody had something that wasn't searched.
And now they see that when he was striking himself with a set of keys.
Yeah, there it is.
And now he's got multiple lacerations to the left side of the neck. Puncture wounds with lacerations, arterial spray. So I'm going to stop here.
Tourniquet.
Pressure maybe instead.
I'll stop here and go, well, plot twist. Initial thoughts. I couldn't have left it this easy for you guys. Like,
I knew something was coming.
Can we get a wet bandage on it?
Oh, please no.
I mean,
The bandage would get wet.
it's going to be wet.
How far out are we?
You are still a few minutes.
Ain't gonna be dead if you don't do something.
Is he going to let you? Does he let them bandage this?
I would say probably not, right?
I mean, what are you really gonna?
I think first step would be get him sedated, because I don't think he's gonna let us do anything, any kind of life-saving measure or anything at all.
No?
I don't think he will.
And
you know what? Honestly, even if he will, I'm not taking the chance anymore. We're done. We're stopping the ambulance. I'm getting out. You're getting Versed, and then we're gonna fix the problem and keep moving.
But at the same point, by the time Versed works, he's dead.
That's true too.
Accommodate. Give him something. Put
Even
him out.
that,
Knock him down.
He's dead. Like,
By the time you pull over, get your meds out.
This is one of those things. Like, it's arterial spray. Arterial spray lasts for 30 seconds.
I hope my EMT is holding pressure.
They are shocked and appalled at.
Okay.
Ooh, look, blood on the wall of the ambulance.
So first
It's
EMT
spraying.
hold pressure.
Yeah, I mean, first they need to hold pressure.
And don't you think so? If this guy is so, in my head, you know, yes, this guy clearly wants to be dead.
But technically,
Clearly.
But that's not your decision.
No. I'm just saying, clearly he wants to be dead. It's not like I'm going to sit there and let him die. However, he tried, then he figured out a different way of going about his initial plan when the first one apparently didn't work well enough. Do you think there might be like an oh fuck factor? Like, you know, there's always that that change in mentality from I really want to kill myself and I'm gonna jump off the bridge, and then I jump off the bridge and I'm like, fuck, that was a really bad idea.
Everyone that I've ever heard that has done something like that, and they always say the same thing, is that last moment when their hand left the rail is when they realize they fucked up.
Right. So do you think that possibly this guy now could have been like, oh, that was a mistake?
It depends on, I mean, is he still trying to swing this thing?
And where's his mental state? If he's schizoaffective and he's not on meds, or any sort of psych and he's not on meds, is he thinking the same as
somebody else?
Right.
Right. With a normal mentation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I like the thoughts. So making me laugh. Goodness, I'm trying to find where I am. As Gerard is sitting there going, I still don't know what I want to do yet.
I'm just trying. I'm going through my head, and which
would it be quicker just to drive fast?
That would solve the. I don't want him still swinging that weapon.
I mean, if he loses enough blood, he's not swinging. Yeah, but if he's not,
restrain him.
Okay.
How much blood has he lost? So I bet you he's still not swinging.
Well, and that's it. So let's. This one actually works out fairly well for the EMT in the back, right? Now, this won't happen with everybody. However, this guy has the hand off the ledge kind of moment in that immediately he almost drops keys and grabs his own neck.
Oh, great.
right? So
That's a bonus.
right.
Yeah.
So he's helping.
Just keep doing that.
Just keep doing
You know?
that, right? The EMT sits there, sees 2 to 3 what looks to be like tearing lacerations around the left side of his neck. EMT yells to the paramedic, pull over, get in here. We have big problem. I don't know if that was actually quoted, but
Probably.
I would think that's totally what I would say. Like, big problem. And they pull over. Medic gets in the back. EMT, while they're pulling over, gets gloves on and begins holding direct pressure on the wounds. Just slaps a hand in there. And medic, once they get in, gives their partner a few quick clot bandages, the little like 4x4 quick clots, and says, here, hold direct pressure with these things. And now the officer steps into the back of the ambulance.
I'm waiting for the policeman.
Because now they're like, why are these guys stopping? And the medic, surprisingly, I think this was a fairly smart move on their part, goes, hey, get in the front, drive us priority 1 to the hospital. Like, you can lock up your car. We need you to drive. I think that was a fairly smart, really intelligent move on their part.
We Shanghai firemen all the time.
Right. Why not a cop?
Yeah.
Right. And I would trust the cop over like the fireman that might do 3 calls a year to drive priority 1 in the middle of the city, you know? So that's just my take. Now, bear in mind, the drive is still approximately 3 minutes to this, whatever hospital they're going to. Transport begins, priority 1 to the hospital, and there is still profuse bleeding coming from the wounds on the neck. The patient's still trying to grab the EMT's hands in a more frantic manner than aggressive. Like, they're freaking the fuck out at that point in time.
Which is valid.
It's like a drowning person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Medic places oxygen via non-rebreather on the patient, sets it to 12 liters per minute, and then tells the EMT that they physically need to plug the holes if they can. And the EMT kind of just looks at them, but doesn't really understand what the heck they're asking them to do.
Finger in the dike. Right.
And the medic literally looks at them and goes,
the kind that holds water back. Get your minds out of the gutter. Please. I'm offended.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So, Gerard's completely accurate.
That's what I mean, I was
in
thinking
the fact
like,
of, like, the medic literally tells them, take your finger, stick it in the hole, and apply pressure to the source. Like, finger, hole, plug, dam. Yes, you can say anything dirty you want.
Nope. Being good.
Now,
it's torturous, but
you want the gold star for the day?
I'm going for it. With a smiley face.
Oh, is it scratchable and sniffing?
Oh, like, it smells like snozberries.
So, in a way, this is kind of, sort of stepping out of protocol for these guys. But
sticking your finger in a hole?
Well, you're not ever taught, like,
you're controlling bleeding.
You're controlling bleeding. I think it's a great idea. I've done this on patients. However, you're never really taught. Like, this is battlefield type medicine. Like, you know, it reminds me of like the scene. I know these girls won't understand, but you'll get it. Black Hawk Down, when they're trying to get the femoral artery, and they literally reach in, grab
the artery,
and say, "I'm going to hold this here to try and stop the bleeding." Oh my fucking god!
What? All right, you got to put a sound effect in here.
I've seen that.
Hallelujah.
Thanks, Core.
Like, whoa.
Hey, I could think of worse movies to have her exposed to.
That's true.
It was a good movie.
That's true. It was a good movie, especially when Orlando Bloom fell and then was not in the rest of the movie.
I giggled my ass off.
So did I. You're fucking useless trash. So anywho, so, you know, I feel like this is a really good choice that the medic wants to do.
I actually met Michael Durant, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Continue.
That's
Sorry.
cool. Sidebar. Sidebar to the sidebar. However, this EMT chooses not to follow these orders because they're uncomfortable with this direction, and instead they grab 5x9s, slap it on top of the quick clot. Try and put as much pressure on. Now they're holding it with both hands. And
now they're just strangling the poor guy.
No, not like this. Like
one hand,
one side, and one hand on the left side.
You just got to pay double for that kind of action cut.
And
so I have a question.
Yes.
What are the chances somebody strokes out from something like this?
I just don't want them to bleed out right now.
Yeah,
well, I understand, but
I
like,
don't care about their stroke status at this point.
Well,
I'm more worried about airway and them like literally hemorrhaging and exsanguinating to death.
I understand that, but like, not supposed to, like, if you check for a crowded pulse, you're not supposed to hold for too long to make sure they don't stroke out.
Don't worry, you still have blood flow on the other side.
Yeah.
That's why we have two.
Okay.
And again, I'm way more concerned with the profuse amount of blood that they're losing
than a stroke
at that point in time.
Yeah.
Maybe, there's a clot that forms that might give him a stroke 2 days later if for some crazy miracle this guy lives, but I'll let the doctors cross that bridge.
I was gonna say that's a hospital problem.
Yeah. Right. So as the EMT's holding pressure, they're noticing that the neck wounds are literally soaking the bandages as fast as they can replace them.
So we have a wet bandage now.
So we now have an official wet bandage. No! But at least they know why it's there.
That is true.
And why it's wet.
And why it's wet. Right. So the medic begins to assess the rest of the airway and neck because airway control at this point is iffy, right? The patient's beginning to spit out some blood. The medic suctions it with a Yankauer, allows him to, spit it into a basin or whatever. And his breathing becomes very rapid, very shallow. There appears to be like no subcutaneous air found in the neck, which is a really good thing. Yeah. And they're starting to notice that like right here on the jawline, right underneath like the left front of the jaw, there is a large area of swelling starting. So they're bleeding internally, but they're not hemorrhaging air, which is a good thing. He's now become completely unresponsive. He's pale in the arms. He's pale in the hands and the head. His SpO2 on the monitor has gone from like 96 to 85. His heart rate is now down in the 50s via the pulse ox, and the respiratory rate has dropped to barely countable at that point in time. Medic decides, I'm going to drop an OPA. This guy takes it like a freaking champ, which I'm intrigued at your guys. Do you think OPA is warranted? NPA is more warranted in this?
I think OPA is fine.
I'm not disagreeing with it. I know there's a lot of personal preference. He took it like a champ. So
at this point, I just want to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And literally, maybe they have a minute left, minute and a half before they get there. OPA is dropped, and he takes BVM ventilations connected to high flow oxygen, and he's stopping every few seconds to actually suction out this guy's airway, right? Because we don't want to just plop all that back in, right? Yeah. Blow all that shit back in. So it should be noted that there's still bleeding. However, there's no more arterial spray. There's no like super profuse river. It's now more of like a steady stream under the bandages. That makes sense.
I mean, they're running out of blood.
That's what I was
going to say. That's what I was saying is how much have they lost?
Depletion. That's not
have
a
we
good
gotten
thing.
a new set of vitals?
Yeah. Right.
Hey, the bleeding's stopping. Well, it's going to do that
There's
eventually.
Nothing, yeah,
right.
All bleeding stops at some point.
Exactly. So he's dropped off to the ER. He's still bleeding upon arrival to the ED. Okay. Update.
They made him wait an hour in the bay, right?
Not in this city. Yeah, right. Triage. So as we can more or less defer from this, it did not end well. He sadly never actually made it to the operating table. Lost too much blood. Didn't have the reserve to hold until the MD staff could actually stop the blood. So I kind of want to gauge your guys' thoughts. This one's kind of like that really tough, one of a kind psych call that some providers will see, some providers will never ever get to see this ever in their lifetime. Like, what's your guys' kind of main takeaways from the overall call?
This is a call that, and again, I had to learn it the hard way. But it's why whenever I have a psych and we're going to roll with them, the cops are going to search them before they go in my ambulance. Mm-hmm. I have them searched every freaking time.
But would that have made things worse in this situation?
I don't care.
So that brings the other point that I was going to say, actually, is hindsight's 2020. So obviously we know the outcome of this call. So it's easier for me to say this, but on every single psych call, it crosses my mind. The second that you get to the point where I'm like, oh, I need more resources, you're going to go in soft restraints.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Because that you already
have proven
that I don't trust you right now. And if you are not listening, then you're going to go in soft restraints until you can listen. Now, that doesn't mean like when they go in soft restraints, 10 minutes, and then I'm going to start to evaluate if they can come off. That doesn't mean that he couldn't have done this 10 minutes past this.
Say, look, trust is built.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put you in these.
This is for my safety.
Trust. Right. You show me you're on good behavior and you're good to go, they come off.
Yep. But I can tell you, like, when he started to freak out when the cop was there, me personally probably would have been in restraints, and we would have been to the hospital before he came out of them. If you're 7 minutes away,
right? Yeah. And again, hindsight,
right
is
but
Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But it's definitely something for people that listen to take note of. Is like, hey, this might not be the outcome on every single psych patient. Most of the psych patients that we do are fine. We go, we talk to them.
They need a hand hold.
They need a hand hold, and we deliver them with no issues.
And even the ones that need a little bit heavier hand.
Right.
It's always, you use it sparingly, and then you go right back into de-escalation mode. Mm-hmm. All right. It's like, hey, I just had to, maybe yell at you or something, get you, snap out of it, tension getter. And then, okay, now I'm going to be back to trying to be your friend as much as I can.
Right.
Otherwise, we go to the black bag.
Well, and that's it. Do you think was there, patient care wise, other than, possibly restraining or sedating earlier?
It's a golden baby, man. I think this was just one of those things where it seemed like they had it, it almost got away from them, and then they got it again. So, of course, now you're more confident. Hey, I can bring this guy back from the ledge. Right. We're good. I think if they just would have thought of, having someone pat him down before, this would have never. He would have went to the hospital. Things would have been fine.
Right.
It was just one of those things where he snapped again. Only this time, he had something that he could use to hurt himself with. So.
Yeah. Especially in this case, if the EMT does have that great of a rapport, like you could even be like, listen, like I need you to empty your pockets for me. Turn them inside out for me. We're going to put it all right here. You can have it back when we'll stick it in a bag for when you get to the hospital.
I'm not going to lie, but I may, be like, hey, I want to make sure I have all your stuff in order because the hospital will probably freaking lose your shit, dude. Right. So let's just get all your stuff out.
We'll blame somebody else.
You're not wrong.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not lying.
You're not lying.
But it's like no, and it's a good excuse that they'll more likely buy. And I've used it before. Like, hey, we need to get all your stuff.
Tell me you need to take an inventory so that you know what you have here and they can't lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
I got to write it down so when the hospital loses it, it's not on me.
Then you can sue them. People love money.
Right.
People do love money.
I like money.
Who doesn't like money? So, you had asked Kels about the schizoaffective versus the schizophrenia, right? And
did we find about potentiation?
Yeah, so I was wrong on that. They use it for mania.
I'm sorry,
for mania.
I didn't mean
for
to,
mania.
Didn't mean to step on you.
Okay, you're allowed to step. It's okay.
No, I'm taking a step back. Now I'm going to take a step forward.
And now you're right back where you were.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
No, because then he would still be 1 step back.
No, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Wait, what's the song?
I'm moving on.
Moving on.
Anywho, so
Lambada.
so schizoaffective versus schizophrenia. So both are chronic, serious medical, like mental health disorders. Typically, the schizophrenia is labeled with patients who have hallucinations or delusions, whereas the schizoaffective patients also have delusions and hallucinations, but they have drastic mood swings. So they have like the mania and the depressive mania, like they flip flop between anger and sadness and anger and sadness, and like
it's kind of like they took bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and put it together.
Gotcha.
It's schizoaffective.
that's a fabulous way of thinking about it.
I was thinking,
Yes.
Which is why they go on like mood stabilizers as opposed to
anti-hallucinogens.
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
because schizophrenia is really more the hallucinations and that kind of thing, where schizoaffective is more of the mood stabilizing.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, one of the things I was chewing on before that, where you can actually like physically see me, my brain was working and thinking.
It was smoking.
It gets harder to do.
Was
as
it crimson
time
red?
goes on. Yeah.
No, it was the vape.
But
Was that the big cloud that
Yes, it
appeared
was.
around?
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, because I was thinking back to literally I don't even know why I even remember it. But maybe, hey, here's something y'all can write in about. Do y'all remember your first med administration? Because I remember mine. And I don't mean in the hospital, I mean in the field.
Ketamine.
My very first, nope.
Versed.
Nope.
Fentanyl.
No.
We're just naming things.
Cortisone. Hey, no. It was Haldol and 25 Benadryl.
Oh, it's like
It's
the EMS version of a B-52.
Right, it's like a B1B. Yeah. It's not quite a B-52, but it can still bring the pain.
Yeah.
But it was an 80-year-old lady in a nursing home in a wheelchair who found her way into the kitchen in the cutlery.
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
God.
She was swinging. Hops, she was swinging. I mean,
Oh, shit.
For her.
I get there, this little old lady. She's just like, she was using words like I don't use, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you could put those two together. Wow, that's some good shit, And we called the doc, and I was, on as a medic, but I was still riding as a second medic, getting, the wind beneath my wings and all that shit. And
It's very cute.
yeah, and it was the medic I was with comes back. He's like, all right, and draw up 25, because he was on the phone with the doc. He's like, yeah, draw up 25 of Benadryl and 5 of Haldol and give it IM. And I'm looking, and she's still swinging this fucking knife. And I'm like,
How am I supposed to get that?
Where's my blow dart gun?
so I started sweet talking her, a little bit. Hey,
Did you tell you liked your curse words?
Did you use your pilot voice?
I don't remember if I did. Maybe I did.
I think you used your pilot
But I scooted around
I
in
could
front
see
of her, got down on one knee. I said, hey, put my hands up in the air, and I'm not going to say
With the
what
syringe?
Yeah, with the needle behind your fingers.
He's stuck
I'm just
that in
going to
his
give this
hat.
to you.
I had my partner holding it, and he was still behind her, and I kind of like, look at me, hey.
A decoy.
You duped her?
I said, hey, I know you've got it, because I got her medical history from the nurse while she was still interacting with the police, and and it was, I found out she had like AFib, and so I said, hey, honey, I know you have a heart condition. I said, I'm not here, I'm not with the cops. I just want to make sure you're okay. Can I take your blood pressure, make sure that your heart's okay? Okay. All right.
She's got the knife.
I pulled out the blood pressure cuff. I put it low, and then reached back, grabbed the syringe from my partner, stabbed the shit out of her. I thought you were my friend. Well, you thought wrong. Good night. We're here all week.
That's awesome.
My first med administration.
Okay. All right. So with that, I just want to slide into blood volume.
But that was the point I was trying to make. What I was chewing on was there was an alternative to like full sedation, and we could have maybe gone that route, maybe got on a phone
Small
or something
nap
like that. Yeah, little nap, or just a little, just to kind of
Little napper is a big one.
not make them so wanting to do themselves harm and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And it's something that was completely overlooked here. Yeah. I mean, this was like explained to me as they were going full sedation. Like, we are going to knock you out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I know a lot of people, it's either full sedation or nothing.
Or none.
And it's like,
it's all or nothing.
Oh man, Benadryl does make everybody groggy.
Benadryl's beautiful. Oh. Yeah. It's a beautiful drug because if you just need someone to, you just got to just take them down a little bit. You don't need to put them out. You just got to take them down. And one of the people I've noticed that, one of the type of people that I've used this on is special needs, like MR, Down syndrome, stuff like that. They don't understand that you're there to help them. Right. And if they're not feeling good, they're pretty angry and they have,
aggressive tendencies.
Yes, aggressive tendencies. And they're very strong.
Oh, yeah.
So rather than just putting them completely out, I've done it, I think 3 times where I've just given them Benadryl. I'm going to give you a quick shot and blah, 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 and then I'm going to walk away. You'll never see me again. Okay, there you go. And technically they don't see me again because they go to sleep.
So he's not lying. I'm not lying.
Don't lie to your patients.
Except for when you're going to stab him in the arm.
You'll be dead.
So I just want to touch base on just blood volume in general, right? So normal healthy adults will have somewhere between 4.5 and 6 liters of blood in their body at one point in time. That for us Americans is 1.2 to 1.5 gallons of blood. With the arterial hemorrhage, the patient will typically have the classic arterial spray for only about 30 seconds. And then it normally turns to that steady river stream of blood. And think like the heart ejects roughly 70 mLs of blood per beat, right? And arterial bleeds, depending on where they are, can eject anywhere from 70 to 100 mLs of blood per heartbeat. So that's a lofty, large amount of blood that we're ejecting very quickly. To put it in perspective, a completely severed radial artery can render unconsciousness in a mere 2 minutes, with death following very shortly thereafter. And remember that if you lose 40% of your blood volume, you are in irreversible shock. Without a significant intervention, you're dead. So this guy, lost a considerable amount of his blood volume in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, even if they kept rolling, I mean, there still would have been time for vascular to get there and do anything. There was nobody could do anything. You would just keep pouring fluid into him, and that's about it.
Right. I mean, notice this medic, went straight to airway. Yeah. Right. And didn't be like, I need to replace this with fluid. Let me get an IV. No, fuck that. Right. We're going to do A and C.
That's it.
And then B failed, so he went A, B, and they literally just did
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C.
That's it.
So the last thing I want to touch on is neck injuries and airway, right? Treat it aggressively. This medic suctioned that aggressively. They were in there ready with the Yankauer. We're going to get all this stuff out. If they can drool it out, spit it out because they're conscious enough, let them do that. Let them self-suction if need be. But get that, stuff out of there. Look for that sub-Q emphasis or sub-Q air. Yeah. Are they building up air pockets within the neck? Right? We can look at that and go, okay, now we have tracheal damage as well as vascular damage, right? Be prepared to intubate these people. If it wasn't a 7-minute drive, this guy might have been intubated because he's completely losing his airway. Now he's unconscious, unresponsive. Why not drop a tube in him? But remember that you now have a bloody, messed up airway. So your landmarks in intubation become that much more important. You're going to be able to sit there and maybe just see bubbles in the airway. That might be what you're aiming at, right? It's not always the best way, but you're looking at all those other landmarks to make sure that you're putting a tube in the right spot. Have you guys, I know most of you have heard of salad for intubation. salad is one of those things that like medic school doesn't really teach the salad maneuver. Being able to literally take the Yankauer and stick it in the esophagus while you're in there with the laryngoscope and you're suctioning the airway as you're intubating is an amazing maneuver to be able to manage these airways. So don't be afraid. Don't go in with a video scope. If they have a big bloody airway, go in old school, go in manual. You take your blade, you go in, still, right to left, and you take your Yankauer and you put it in right into the esophagus, bury it in the esophagus, sit it on the bottom left corner of your view, and just let it sit there and let it do its work. And then you can intubate from the right and do everything like that, just like you normally would. So those were the things that I wanted to touch base on. Do you guys have anything before we wrap this up? Not really. I think we hit a lot of points. Did you have any more questions?
That's all I got for questions.
Okay. So guys, we will see you in August. Remember, there's going to be a huge announcement in Kelsey's rig check on August 1st, as well as a ginormous big surprise for the discussions for August 1st and August 15th. So we will see you then.
Ginormous. I don't know what
ginormous. Yeah.
Oh.
Donuts.
Oh, yeah, donuts.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you'd like more information on the podcast or to send us a call to review, visit medicmaterials.com/podcast. To learn more information, like us on Facebook at Medic Materials EDU, or watch our weekly instructional videos on the Medic Materials YouTube channel.